I'm Elizabeth with Elizabeth Road Studio. I hope you want to make sure, first of all, that you have plastic on your table whenever you get ready to start on your kit. An unfolded trash bag works great. If you open it up, that is a perfect solution. You will have everything on your packing list in your kit. So let's see what we've got. I act like I don't know. I packed every one of these. You have 2 kinds of brushes, your gloves, your glass, cups, your ketchup packets of paint, a packing list with instructions. So if you don't want to watch the video, you don't have to. Art resin, and then the wood. The wood on this side is real smooth, and on this side it's kind of rough. I love these rusty nails in here, and the edges are kind of sanded down a little bit. So this is our sample. So I'm gonna have our sample here, and then we're gonna paint on our original board. I'm gonna go ahead and open these up. The best way I have found to do this is to like squeeze a little bit of paint from the edge there, and that'll make the edge clean without paint in it. And then I'm gonna just take the corner off and make myself a little paint pile here. This is gonna be so easy for y'all this year. I'm really glad we discovered this. Actually, my friend Debbie Poole was the one that told me this is how she does her kits. And she sends little paint packets, and it's perfect because we don't need very much of each of these. Okay, so I'm putting all my paint colors out. I'm gonna do my black last. I'm gonna get it out in a minute because it might take me a little while and I don't want it to dry up. Okay, so I'm gonna start by painting my board. I'm going to outline my church first. So I'm gonna dip in my white, and I'm just gonna use my sponge brush. Now, you want to allow for the cross at the top of your church. So actually, I think I'm gonna turn mine this way, and then that way these nail holes will be in the shrubs, so they won't look like they're in the sky. Okay, so you want to allow for your cross. I'm actually going to just paint a little cross on here. I'll paint over it in just a minute, but that's just so that I know I have room. It's like a placeholder, okay? So there's my placeholder. I'm going to use the edge of my brush to make my steeple. Kind of want that to be in the middle a little bit. This does not have to be perfect, but I want to allow room for a wreath right there. And then I'm going to use the edge of my brush to make my next little roof area here, the body of the church. You can make this church however you want it. In fact, I made probably 3 different kinds using the same kit, just different designs. And I'll be sure and share those pictures. So I'm going to let this come down. I'm going to leave room on the sides for these shrubs, these little trees. So you see how easy this is? You don't even have to make a straight line. I'm just kind of marking out where I want my church to go, and you can adjust it however you want to. It's just paint. You cannot mess this up. So there we go. I've had several people tell me that they can't draw, but I think anybody can draw this. I think this is super easy. I don't believe that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and paint the snow down here on the ground. Paint my snow. And I want the snow to go back here. It's going to have trees in front of it, but that's okay. Okay, now I'm going to paint my sky. So you can have your sky a little bit darker like this one, or you could make it lighter and make it like it's daytime. I kind of like the snowy sky. It's kind of dark outside. This reminds me of when we go to church on Christmas Eve, and it's kind of dark when we get there. And then it's even darker when we leave. Okay, so we're gonna just kind of fill in this background a little bit. I don't have to go all the way down here because I'm gonna be painting some shrubs there too, okay? It is easy. You can watch, when you do this kit, you can watch it over and over and over again. So please don't feel intimidated. We're just gonna fill in. This is like a coloring book. And this wood is really thirsty, so it's gonna take quite a bit of paint, but you'll have more than enough. Even just doing the ketchup packet paint, you'll have more than enough. Okay. And that's a good way to kind of straighten up the background too. I'm also going to dip in my blue paint and give myself a little bit of a snowdrift right in front of the church with this blue, just like that. Okay, the next thing I want to do, I'm going to get a lot of this paint out onto my palette here. I don't need a ton of paint in there, but it's okay that it's still got the blue. I want to paint some trees, some shrubs. I'm just pouncing, pounce, pounce. You're going to have green glass over this to cover it up, so don't worry too much about that. I want these trees to be tall and skinny. Okay. Now I do need to rinse. Rinse out my sponge brush. Oh, forgot my towel. Need a paper towel. Rinse out my sponge brush, and I'm going to use my white to paint my church. I am a member of the Episcopal Church, and our churches have red doors, so I'm going to be painting my doors red, but you have enough black, or you could, if you had paint at home, you could do this any color that you want. You could mix your black and your white and make your church gray if you wanted to. Do whatever you want to do. This is your design. I love it when people go rogue and do something just a little bit different. I think that's so fun. Okay. Now I'm going to use this detail brush to go in here and paint some green. Whoop. You get this little brush. It is not the best brush in the world, but my goodness, it's pretty good to come in a kit. I was really surprised at the quality of it. So you could even hang on to this and use it again another way. I'm going to go ahead and paint the wreath on here. So I'm just going to paint a circle. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. We're just going to do a rough circle, and I'm going to pounce, pounce, pounce that green paint to make the wreath. We're going to put glass over it, so if it's not as thick as you want, or if it's too thick, you can adjust that with the glass that we're going to put on it. And then I want to do some little shrubs down here in the front too. It just gives it a little bit of depth to have some stuff in the foreground and some stuff in the background. You'll be able to look at this picture too on your packing list right here, so you can kind of see my design here. I'll move it over here so you can kind of see what I did, and then you can decide what you want to do. All right, now I'm going to rinse out that brush. I'm going to paint my doors. I want my doors to be arched, but you can do yours again however you like. That is not even a very straight arch, but we are going to go with it because this does not have to look like it was printed. You don't want it to look like it was printed. You want it to look like you hand painted it. I'm going to fill this in with red. There we go. You could make these little churches however you wish. They're so fun. Okay, rinse out my brush. Now I want to get, what am I going to do next? I think next I want to do the roof line. So I'm going to get this black out. And I actually did my roof on this one with gray. So you all are going to get to mix a color. We're going to squirt some black right here next to that white. And I'm going to mix white and black together just a little bit right here on my palette, because I didn't want the harshness of the black on this painting. I thought I really liked the gray color better. The first thing I'm going to do is this bottom roof line. And I'm going to make it meet. Come back that way. You can go back over it. You can make it as thick or as thin as you'd like. You can make it extend over the edge. Whatever you want to do. Trace down these sides just to kind of define the building a little bit. This really is like a coloring book. Go around our door here. You could put wreaths on the door if you wanted to. You could paint some little windows if you wanted to. Whatever you want to do. I'm going to finish off this little section of the steeple, the bell tower. You could put your wreath down here and have a bell tower up there. Wouldn't that be so cute? Oh, I love that. Now I'm not going to paint on the cross because that's part of our glass that we have is the cross. But I am going to paint on, I'm going to use the back of my brush and I'm going to start with some snow. And I'm going to paint some snow. I know we have some folks on here that live in California and live in Texas. And I've heard that they don't always like to have snow on their Christmas scenes. I can totally get that. I bet the people in Australia don't either. Remember when the boys were little and we watched the Wiggles and they had Christmas on the beach, and I thought, it just didn't even occur to me. And I was a grown adult. It didn't even occur to me that they would have Christmas on the beach. But they did. Put some snow in the foreground. You won't even see that. That was silly. You won't even see that. Okay. Now I'm going to put some red berries in our wreath up here. So I'm going to do the same thing with the back of the brush so that I can dot with it. And I'm going to just dot on this little wreath up here. Little dots. Sound like Bob Ross. Do love Bob Ross. Okay. Now, let's see, what do we do next? Next, we're going to get out our glass. So if we're going to get out our glass, we need our gloves. And I'm going to, listen, you guys, if you got a kit, you covet these gloves. Gloves are in short supply. I bought them when they were not in short supply. But now they've gotten in short supply again. So I'm going to take care of these gloves. Okay. I want to open up my green glass. And this is glass that I have dyed. I'm going to put it on this plate. You can just put it on your work surface. But I want to make my, I want to make my little trees right here first. I'm just going to pile it up together. Let it go up kind of high. I love these tall, skinny trees. There's just something about them that looks kind of whimsical, but I don't know, I just love them. They're called cypress, maybe. These evergreens. Do it after I've got the glass on here. I'm going to splatter some snow. I like having the variation. I like having the big snowflakes in the background back here, and I like having the splatters in the foreground. Oh, look what I did, y'all. Don't do like me. Let that dry first. Let me touch that up real quick. Most of the time it's easier to remove paint than it is to paint over paint. So let's see, I've got a Q-tip here and I have it wet, and I'm just gonna take that little bit of red off of there. I'm glad I did that so y'all can see. That was for you all. That was for you all so that you could see how easy that is to fix. I'm just gonna touch it up. And then I'm gonna touch up the red, and because let's do a little bit more. Oh, you're only watching on your phone. Sandy usually watches me on her television. get to be on the big screen usually. Okay, so now we have all our little shrubs. Oh, our wreath. Let me see if I can do this without making a mess. I'm wearing gloves because I have to model good behavior when handling glass for the masses. In case y'all are wondering why I'm struggling here. Here we go. And I made another. More red. That's okay. It just comes right off. You say I make it look easy, but I make mistakes too, obviously. Okay. I think that's good. Can you all see well enough? Let me zoom in just a little bit. I wanted you to see the big picture, but now you might need to see it up close a little bit. Whoop, wrong direction. There we go. Okay. And there we go. The best way to figure out if this is looking the way you want it to is to stand above it and take a picture of it. And that'll help you see, you know, I'm looking at it from a funny angle because I'm down here tonight, but I would normally, if I were making this myself, I would normally probably stand up and look at it from above just to make sure I got everything where I wanted it. Okay, and you'll still be able to see those little red berries down underneath there. All right, now I'm gonna take my glass for my cross. Actually, no, I'm gonna do this first. We're gonna make our snowflake for our snow first. If you want to splatter snow, this is how you're gonna do it. Take one of your little cups that you're gonna use for your, take one of these little cups that you're gonna use for your, I can't get my words out, for your little table legs, for propping up your glass piece to do the resin. And we're gonna put some paint in here, some white paint, because you'll have plenty of white paint left over. So you could either take it off of there and put it in here, or whatever you want to do. And then we're going to add a little bit of water to this. I'm even adding my murky water, my murky paint water that's over here, that's been in here all day. This is definitely optional. I'm going to add some water to this. We want to thin this out a little bit. You don't want this to be too thick or else you won't get good splatters. And good splatters are imperative. Okay, we want to thin it out. Let me think, what consistency is that? Thicker than milk? Like melted ice cream, maybe? Is that a good comparison? I'm trying to think of something white. Thinner than sour cream? Maybe about, I don't know. Close to that. Okay, so I'm going to take my brush, and you can use, you know what, I'll use this brush because I want to show you how to do it like that. I'm going to dip in with my tiny brush, and it's thin enough I can tap it on my finger and make snowflakes. Just like that. I'll do one more. This might do better. There we go. Needed something stronger than my finger to tap on. Okay. Let me touch up this red here a little bit. That's where it got a little bright. And then, or light, I guess I should say. And then I can place the rest of the glass. I might want to do a little bit of touching up here too, down the middle there. Okay. All right. Now, let's see. This is, let's see, here it is. Okay, so this is a tiny, tiny cross, y'all. It's so small. Don't ask me how I cut them this small. It's tiny, and I cut every single one of them, but it's real small. So the idea is that you're going to stand it up here at the top and then put the cross pieces next to it. Oh my gosh, it's working. If these fall over, oh, like that, you can use a tiny bit of clear glue, or you can just dip these in a tiny bit of paint. I'm going to have a hard time doing this with gloves on, I'm just saying. But you could dip this in a tiny bit of paint, and the paint will act as glue to help it stay there, I promise you. Hold it for just a second and it'll stay. You could also lay the cross down if you wanted to, but I kind of designed it so it would stand up. This is so hard to do with gloves on, especially gloves that are one size fits all. Okay, now I have all these fun little beads, and I like to put these on the big chunks of snow. I think that's a fun thing to do with those. You could scatter them in and out. You could make a little pile of them. They just add a little bit of dimension. They don't show up as much as you think they would, so it doesn't look like they're, you know, big balls falling from the sky. They look like this. So it just gives it a little bit of dimension in the sky. But I think they add a little something in all the sparkle. That's what we all want anyway, right? Don't forget to make sure you do this in a place that is well ventilated, and also that you can leave to set overnight, because you don't want to disturb this once you pour resin on it. You don't want to move it. You don't want anybody to touch it. You don't want like pet hair or dust or anything to get in that shiny, glossy resin. Just want it to be able to hang out for about 12 hours. So I'm going to pour the resin on this. Whoop, can't get that. And I'm laying these so that they're flipped over. They have a domed side and a flat side, so I'm laying them down so that the flat side is against the wood. I am going to turn these cups upside down and use these, and it's okay that this one has paint in it. That's not going to hurt a thing. I'm going to use these, let me back up, to use as my base so that I can then pour resin on the church. However, this is really wet with paint right now, so I need to let it rest for a little while. Okay, I'm going to show you how to pour resin on your pieces. These kits come with a packet of art resin, and these are so great. They're 2 ounces, which is just enough to do 4 ornaments. So each kit comes with 1 packet of art resin. And what you do is cut open the top carefully, making sure not to open the resin packets, right? Because it's in a bag. There are instructions in here. You can read all about it. All the safety information is in there. And you'll end up with a bag that has 2 parts, a resin and a hardener. And you want to slide this clip out, just like that, and throw that part away. And then you want to mix these 2 together. They're actually 1 bag that has been separated and shipping by the clip. So you want to set a timer, and then you want to massage the bag like this. You just want to mix and mix and mix and mix. You don't have to worry about bubbles. You don't have to worry about anything. You just want to mix a lot, okay? Mix, mix, mix. This is a great job for the kids to do. Mix, 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 mix. I'm just going to do these 4, but the situation is the same for all of them, okay? I'm just going to show you on these 4 right now. So once you've been stirring for 3 minutes, you want to snip the corner off, and you make a tiny little hole. You could probably do smaller than that. A tiny little hole, and you're going to drizzle your resin onto your work. You're going to start with the highest point first. So wherever the glass is the highest, that's where you want to go. And you want to drizzle just on the glass area first, okay? you want to make sure that your artwork is totally dry. That means the glue, if you used any glue, has to be dry, and the paint has to be totally dry before you do the resin part. I had somebody call me last year and they had mixed up the resin but then decided not to pour it yet, and they left the resin mixed. You can't do that. The resin will set up, guys. Believe it or not, that's how it works. It will set up in about 30 minutes. It gets hard and you can't work with it anymore, depending on how warm your room is. I'm just going over just the glass area first, okay? Because we want to make sure that that stuff gets stuck. If we were to run out of resin, it's okay as long as the glass is covered. You're not going to run out of resin, but I like to err on the side of caution. Okay, now I'm going back and I'm going over the rest of the painted area and the rest of the glass. And it seeks its own level, so it's going to find a, it's going to like ooze down into each of the little spaces that that you see on here. It's going to come down and cover all of that, okay? All right. Now we do this part. Look at that. We got 4 of them done with this one bag of resin. I have a little bit left over, but there's plenty enough to do all 4 of them. And so then you'll just let those dry overnight. Don't let anybody touch them. Make sure they're in a room temperature space. And tomorrow you'll be able to drill a hole in the top of them. You might be able to, this isn't a toothpick, but you might be able to clean them out tonight. In about 30 minutes, if you're around, you could make that hole. Right now it's just going to keep resin running down in there, so it won't really work for right now, but later on it will. If you want to clean those out, you can do that in about 30 minutes. And when you're all finished with that and they're dry tomorrow, make the hole open again, and then you can put your leather, here it is, then you can put your leather through them. I like to put the leather through and then tie the top of it like this. I just think it looks good that way. Tie the top of it in a knot like that, and they're ready to hang on your tree. You can sign the back of it, put the date on the back of it. You will have some drips like this on the back, but I think that just shows that it's handmade. If you don't like the drips, you can always take a sander and sand this down, or you can take a metal file and file them off. But I kind of like it. That doesn't bother me at all. Oh, I forgot about our church. And we have our church too. I'll bring it over here so it can get a place in the show. There we go. So 1 resin packet will do this whole church as well. And you'll set it up on cups just like you did these. I appreciate all of you all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great evening.